Hello and welcome to a Thanksgiving edition of the Five Heart Podcast live with me, sick as a dog, Greg Mahochko, and been dead, never been to Europe, John Johnston. So we have quite the duo for y'all today. Hope that your Thanksgiving plans are going swimmingly, and that. I don't know, the turkey's thawed by now, probably. Needs to be thawed, wouldn't you say, John?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not in charge of anything.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah, it kind of is. You know, and my wife has spent the day cleaning up the house and setting up the kitchen, and I don't know. You know what I did? I stayed out of her way.
Yeah. It's probably for the
best.
best.
You know what else I did?
You modeled some awesome cobbie corn goodness?
No, I learned a new word, saccade, because I went and I took a brain test.
Okay.
From my neurosurgeon, who is she's the designer of the iBox, which is the first FDA-approved medical device that will detect concussions. And I went in and both my son and I took the test, and my brain is a mess and his brain is not, and we discussed that because I'm going to write about it and hope to publicize it because I hope it can help with people's, cure people's, not cure, but it can help people detect concussion, deal with concussion, have better brain injury treatments, because living with this shit is hell at times. And there you go.
Which son?
The rotten son.
Okay,
Isaiah.
So he's, his brain's not fully up to par because he chose Minnesota.
Well, according to the doctor,
sure. We're gonna believe the doctors.
That's a hell of a way to start. But I'm trying to. I realize we want to talk about football and stuff like this, but I want to also, have people more aware of brain injury and heart attack stuff. So we have people. Blaine Cole is here from Japan again.
What time is it in Japan? I'm curious.
I don't know. Maybe Blaine will tell us. I can't figure that out.
That's a question for Blaine. Hello, Matt and James and Blaine, of course. Okay, let's talk about it. 15-14. It's the most beatable Wisconsin team that we've ever come up against. It's 11:30 Thanksgiving Day, Blaine. Oh, okay. God bless you.
What? I hope he's eating Thanksgiving dinner. I wonder, do you have Thanksgiving dinner in Japan? What do you do in Japan if you're over there? And obviously they don't really celebrate Thanksgiving.
You're asking the wrong guy. I'm here. I'm
okay.
stateside.
Okay,
Yeah,
Wisconsin. The Wisconsin
Winnable.
game, we lost it. We lost it at the end, just like we're supposed to. It's part of the script right now.
I think we lost it around halftime.
Oh, that's probably true. I'm kind of we got one more game left, and that's it. And I think all of the attention, literally, here's the thing about this. All of the I'm sitting here looking at Twitter. I'm looking at you guys chatting. I looked at our Facebook page because I posed a question on our Facebook page just before we started. And we are playing Iowa, that is supposed to be our big rival game. And they beat us, 8 times in a row now? That's horrible.
I don't think we've won since my oldest son's been alive.
Oh, my God. That is so horrible.
He'll be 7.
I'm drooling already. And nobody is talking about the Iowa game at all. And I think it's a winnable game, too, because their defense is just not good. Or, I'm sorry, their offense is not good. Nobody's paying attention to that. All we're doing is sitting here waiting for the new coach to be announced.
Yep, that
Do you
definitely
have
seems
it?
to be the. But this is why. I guess maybe this is why I wish, that Frost would have been let go in the offseason. Because the coaching search, the coaching, I don't want to say carousel, but the rumors have dominated the media and taken the focus off of the team. I don't know. Maybe there's some people who are like, the team's not that good. That's probably what they want. I don't know. But I don't know. It's when Frost was let go after the Georgia Southern game, which was 47 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I knew, I was like, oh, we're going to be hearing about this, and just thinking about it, talking about it. That's going to be all. And it has. It's been a very long time since we've had an actual, seated head coach. So.
Well, do you know what the latest is? Should we just go right into it?
Oh yeah. Let's go.
The latest is that Matt Rhule is pretty much Matt Rhule, formerly of Baylor, formerly of the Carolina Panthers, is going to be Nebraska's next head coach. That is the rumor. That is the latest big smoky thing, which is making, where there's smoke, there's fire, and apparently it's a very loud fire because it's making a lot of noise. So I see where James Marshall said he suspects that Wisconsin and Nebraska are playing a game of chicken. He'll explain his theory. I think his theory was about Lance Leipold, wasn't it? Lance Leipold's.
He goes into it. James says, I think that Wisconsin is stalling in order to get Nebraska to make the first move. Why? I think they'll hire Leipold, and they are afraid of what Leonard could do at Nebraska.
Well, Leipold signed a contract extension and a raise. We are making so many people so much money. Mark Stoops got a raise at Kentucky. Mark Stoops got a big raise at Kentucky because his name was in the Nebraska running thing. Lance Leipold is getting a big raise at Kansas, and he did sign an extension. Let's see, Chris Kleinman, I think is no. Blaine Cole asked, is Tommy Frazier still coaching? I don't know what Tommy Frazier is, but hopefully it's not coaching. Come on, you guys. I just need to see some reactions to Matt Rhule being our next coach. There's 43 of you on here live. I want to see some comments. What you think of Matt Rhule? Or do you know anything about him?
At Kansas State, they're still, if it was him, you'd have to wait until after potentially the conference championship weekend, correct?
Yeah. I don't. It's not going to be him because he is a. I think his athletic director is Gene Taylor, and Gene Taylor was his athletic director at North Dakota. My God, English again. At North Dakota State, and got him the job at North Dakota State and at Kansas State. I don't think he'd leave that guy unless that guy was retiring. So, okay.
Apparently,
Matt Rhule.
So Matt says that Rhule has been a line coach and is a program builder, but James coming through with he says if Nebraska hires Rhule, the Big Ten West will breathe a sigh of relief. And Richard,
now,
I think I accidentally clicked the wrong one. James is cool with Rhule, but Richard says, going back to, I think it was either you or Todd a few weeks back on the therapy show, referred to Matt Rhule as an Ewok.
Yeah, I've done that. I did that when he was at Baylor. Owen Walker said, I heard he was off the table. Okay, the news is that you know what? This is negotiation. I mean, when you're negotiating at a high level for a lot of money, I mean, you're not just some guy getting his first job or his second job, but you're trying to negotiate an actual salary with your your new employer. You don't say yes to the first offer, do you? I mean, normally you say, yeah, you know what? No, because I can afford to say no. You better come up with something better. So that's where you heard Matt Rhule was off the table. So I posted this question about Matt Rhule to our Facebook page, and we have about 33,000 followers on our page. And oh my God, the negativity! Just the mostly negative responses by people who do not want Matt Rhule as our next head coach. And then some guy said, "Stop with the clickbait." Which
I mean, I don't think it's clickbait if it's
what? It didn't have a link. That's what other people said. How can you have clickbait without a link? So, I think people are getting sick of the rumorizing. They're getting sick of not knowing. I think that's probably been true for 2-3 weeks now. But the amount of negativity toward Matt Rhule is shocking to me.
Shane raises a good point. Easy for me to try to say. Matt Rhule, hard to judge when he's only been at each place for 3 years. I would hope he stays more than 5 years to truly rebuild from what's his name's scorched earth campaign. But that's the problem, right? I mean, we don't have that kind of patience in the 21st century to, give a coach that much rope.
Okay, there was Patricia. Patricia Hayes says Rhule isn't a winner either, is he? I'm not sure if she was responding to somebody else in chat. He won at Temple and he won at Baylor. He had Baylor's, I think, second best season in the history. He did not win at Carolina, and actually he was kind of a disaster at Carolina, but I usually forgive people their NFL careers because going from college to the NFL, Nick Saban was a terrible NFL coach, if you want a reference. But I just, the NFL and college are two way different beasts. But, here's the thing with Matt Rhule. Does he look like an Ewok? Yes, he does. Go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, in 2016, Rhule was named the head coach at Baylor, and they finished 1-11 the following year. In 2017, that is. They went 2018 regular season was 6-6, and they won over Vanderbilt in a bowl game, so they finished 7-6. And in his final year there, they went 11-1. And lost to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl.
Okay, we got Josh Everhart says, same thing, different year, unproven insanity. Here's the thing about this. Name some coaches you think are going to be surefire winners. I mean, everybody's going to go with Urban Meyer, but Urban Meyer is a disaster waiting to happen, and he's probably done coaching. And the reason why I say he's probably done coaching is because both the USC and Notre Dame jobs opened up, and he didn't take either of those. So the idea that he's going to go back into coaching, I think, is a fallacy. But name somebody that's a surefire winner. We thought we had that in the last guy. So I think a lot of the I hate Matt Rhule stuff is you're looking for a sure thing and there really isn't one. Don't make me do my life is full of risks speech.
Here we go. Lloyd McChristmas said Rhule equals Mike Riley. I don't know about that. First of all, he's got a couple decades less of head coaching experience. But I don't see him as the just the Mr. Rogers of college football, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you compare Matt Rhule to Mike Riley had a lot longer in coaching. He had a lot longer of being mediocre. Matt Rhule's, I did the video on Matt Rhule, and Matt Rhule's rise to a head coach is fairly quick compared to a lot of other people. So he went up the corporate ladder fairly quick. He's a younger guy. I mean, not like 30s, but he's not 58 either. So I think that he's interesting. I'm not against him being hired. I'm not if that's the guy, I wouldn't be disappointed at all. Dion Pryor says fickle, but he won't come. I wouldn't be too sure about that. Again, one thing you guys are forgetting is NIL, because it's changed the game completely. All right, and the thing about Nebraska is that Nebraska should have a lot of NIL money, so that if you're looking at a coach and go, well, he can't recruit. Okay, well, he doesn't have to, as hard as you know what I mean? They don't have to go out and sell a tough place to play, Nebraska, because they're going to have money behind them now. And it's going to be more like, I don't want to say more like the NFL, but it is kind of be more like the NFL.
It's a lot for a head coach to manage. And it all really kind of came to a head here in the last few years. I feel like Nebraska has responded to NIL. They've put a lot of pieces in motion to really make the most of NIL, to get the best out of it for the student athletes. I don't know where to go with that, but it's a lot to manage. Matt Rhule coming back to college in a NIL environment, I think it'd be tough. I think stepping into the NIL environment would be tough for any coach who's been away from the game away from the college game for a couple of years. I feel they need to have been part of that transition. So.
What was that? Here's the name nobody wants to hear is Rick Neuheisel. You are correct. I do not want to hear that name.
I said damn right to it. So.
Did you? Oh, okay. I see that. Oh, my God. Phil Spear, Fickle needs to get a bigger job before he takes over at OSU eventually. Here's the thing with that, and I've heard this about Luke Fickle at Cincinnati, is that he wouldn't leave the state of Ohio. Ryan Day is a young guy, and he is a very good coach, and I think it would take quite a bit of failing by Ryan Day for him to not get that job. And quite frankly, Luke Fickle was passed over before after Jim Tressel was left go. So, the Luke Fickle thing is interesting. I would certainly take him as a coach. I didn't think he'd come to Nebraska either, but at this point, nobody knows what's going on.
Mike brings up an interesting point back to Matt Rhule. He had an awesome staff at Baylor. The Texas high school coaches liked him. That same thing. Could Matt Rhule at Nebraska kind of reopen that high school
pipeline
recruiting avenue?
Oh, what else we got?
Blaine's got a great question. I got to get to it. Of the current coaching staff, who would you retain?
The Mickey.
Rhule.
I mean, it's typical you're going to retain somebody that is knows what's going on, knows the players. If you're going to be a successful head coach, you have to understand how to motivate your players, and you have to understand. I mean, if you're going to do sales, the one thing you have to do is understand what your clients are looking for, your customers looking for, how they're motivated, what they want, what they're hungry for. The same applies to college football players if they're going to play good football. You're going to go and you need somebody on the staff that's going to be able to tell you what's this guy like, what's this guy like, what's this guy like, so you don't have to learn it all yourself. So probably Mickey Joseph would be maybe the only one, unless Bill Bush would go back to a special teams coordinator. I think he's done a good job as a defensive coordinator, but if you're Matt Rhule or you're Luke Fickle, I'm guessing that you're probably putting somebody else at your coordinator positions. And Mickey probably stay at wide receiver coach for now, because I don't think he's ready to move up to a coordinator. So,
Shane, to answer your question, you got to get rid of Rhule, because you couldn't have done it the last 3 months if you wanted to.
Is that how that works? Did they fire him? I don't know if they fire him. Nobody uses that word anymore, do they? Does anybody get fired?
Future
Greg?
endeavored.
They say things like
recruiting and NIL, real quick, John.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to shine a very small spotlight on the 5 Heart Podcast Twitter, which I don't. You can say what you want about Twitter. I don't care. As I mentioned before, I'm only on Twitter for Husker game days. Do you remember? And this is for the benefit of the people viewing. Do you remember seeing the picture on Saturday?
I think so. Yes.
That is, it's 16-degree weather, but that is 2023 inside-out linebacker Brent Rice with a cutoff flannel. He's from Wisconsin, from West High, Wisconsin. He's an offensive lineman. I don't know what interior offensive lineman, I guess is what the Iowa. I said it's the most popular tweet I've had probably in a very long time. I just said I retweeted that or quote tweeted, and I said get him all the nil. And let me tell you, 7 people liked that tweet. That's all. I have very low standards.
Well, the nil stuff, I mean, you've got 1890 is the collective, and then I think what's the other one? Big Red Collective. Chris Brown's involved with one of them. The Peds and Matt Davison are involved with the 1890. And I mean, you're looking at millions of dollars being poured into this stuff that can be used to incentivize players to come to Nebraska. And then you also have the Pipeline Jerky guys who are selling Pipeline Jerky, pipeline-jerky.com. And I still need to review this and do a video of it. But
have you tried it
those
yet?
guys are going to... No, I am waiting for my rotten son and I are supposed to try this together. But I have not cleansed my palate sufficiently.
Wait. You and Rotten Son can go get like brain scans done together, but you can't try some Pipeline Jerky? Where
The moment has to be right. The moment has to be right.
I don't know if I've
That sounds
ever heard
weird.
anybody say the moment has to be right to eat some beef jerky.
It does. Well, that is kind of weird, isn't it? Okay. Oh, Fred.
I saw
1890. 1890 was Frost's blood alcohol content level the day he skipped the Rayula kid's visit. That's going to live with him for a long, long time, is it not? Okay, so
Phil's in agreement with me. You need to get on that Pipeline Jerky.
I will. I was waiting for them to send me a T-shirt. I have now gotten the T-shirt in.
Wait.
So
You what? Did they send you the jerky for free?
No. I bought
Did they
the
send you a
jerky.
shirt for free?
They did.
Man, the rich.
You got to learn how to do this, Greg.
So all I need to really do is reach out to Pipeline Jerky, be like, look, I won't make you wait 3 months for my review. Why don't you shoot me over a few packs?
Well,
of that? We'll get
if you have somebody out there that you want to review their product, then normally you have to tell people you're going to review it. And you know, I want it to be an honest review. The other problem is this is pepper. This is peppercorn. I like peppercorn jerky. See this? This is Jack Links.
Yeah.
Okay, the cost of this, guess what the cost of this is off the top of your head?
How
Pipeline
many
jerky.
ounces?
How many? 2.7 ounces.
650.
650. It is 650. This is 3.25 ounces. How much did this cost me? What?
$4.99.
Oh, your audio's cutting out again. This cost me $8.50. $8.50. So,
Hey,
you know it is. It's in line.
We do the people a shout out and at least tell Fred where he can get that jerky.
You go to pipeline-jerky.com. This is where I should have
Here's
this
the
in
thing.
here. See here, get a hoodie there. Lower third ad.
How is he doing this? This is magic. I guarantee you this much, Fred. You'll probably get that jerky before John ever does his review of it.
Oh, now that's not okay. This is where you get the Pipeline Jerky. You see that website, and if you go to that, I mean, every time you buy some of this, they contribute. What they do is they're gonna take the money from the jerky and put it into a pot, and at the end of the year, they give it to the offensive lineman. It does not go to the university. They are not affiliated with the University of Nebraska. It goes right to they are supporting the offensive line, basically, for Nebraska. So, I mean, that's kind of the example of NIL. And when you look at that, this is kind of like a NIL for a common guy that, no, there is not a special offer code for the jerky. You know, I probably could. I'll go back and ask him that. You know, just so we know how many people we're sending their way. But here's the thing. This is a way that you can contribute to the NIL process at Nebraska and bring in some offensive linemen, because we need offensive linemen, for God's sakes. All right, back to coaching. I think what amazes me is that the negativity. You can read that one.
I don't know if I can. Piper Jerky, meat stiffer than our O-line's hips. Thanks, Richard. I needed that.
Okay. I guess I don't. The Beetle Beast is not interested anymore. I'm thinking he's thinking about the season, and I'm guessing that is the case for a lot of people. And the other thing that's I think disturbing is I have heard from people that they aren't going to renew their season tickets, or they're waiting for a coach to renew their season tickets. And I guess when I look at all the candidates that everybody has brought up, I mean, Lance Leipold, if Matt Rhule doesn't move the needle for people, who would? And that is the actual question for you guys that are watching, and you can comment on that. I mean, I realize everybody has their favorites, but I think that what amazes me about this is everybody out there has a flaw, and everybody out there has something we can pick at, and we've had so long to look at this that I don't think anybody the only thing that's going to make us happy is if we start winning games, and that is going to take a while.
Little side conversation between Phil and Dion, because I think Phil referred to Dion as negative. Dion comes through and says, when a new coach is named, I promise to be more positive. Well, we're going to hold you to that, just so you know. Richard, coming back from his great line about the pipeline jerky, only interest that we somehow beat Iowa. He's tired of losing to Iowa.
I'm tired of losing. You know what would be nice? Should we go into Iowa for a while? Okay.
Yeah.
You realize that if Iowa wins this game, they win the Big Ten West. So, in our last game of one of the worst, well, it is the worst year of Nebraska football in my entire 60-year life, we could still ruin things for somebody else that we hate. Yes, Greg.
I have a question. How does this potential 3-9 year, how is that worse than last year's 3-9 year?
I think it's worse because it's been complete turmoil.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, let's face it. Last year
we were close on a lot of those games.
We were, and we still were delusional about we're so close and this is going to work out. This year, there's no delusion about where we are. Everybody knows. Well, maybe there's still some delusional people, but everybody can look at our team and say this is a bad football team, and this is, it's not good. Mickey Josephs and Bill Bush and the coaches have had to deal with, having to keep a team together and keep them motivated when all this stuff has been going on. And they've been losing games and they haven't played well. It's the worst year, and we can still beat Iowa. We could still beat Iowa, and ruin their season, and they'd be stuck there with their shitty offense and their nepotistic father-son coaching duo. And we could laugh at them. And that's really what I would like to do, is point at Iowa and laugh at them and say, we suck and you lost to us. And, okay.
All right. David wants to know, John, will you go live when a new coach is named? Will it be live or will it be a reaction video?
Well, that's all dependent on when it happens. I mean, I'll try to go live because we'll probably be notified that there's a press conference ahead of time. So you know what, I'll try that. But the problem with me going live is I don't know if you've noticed this, but there are a lot of Husker live stuff going on right now. And like, for example, Adam Carricker, I don't want to compete with Adam Carricker. I don't want to make people have to make a choice between him or me or Greg, because people probably would pick Adam. Connor at Corn Craze is doing an excellent job. He gets like 400 or 500 people on his Tuesday night show, which is amazing. I'm going to be on Connor's next Tuesday. But so between going live and doing a reaction video, we'll just see when it is and what happens.
So I just want to point this out. Matt had this very, very nice comment. I'm pretty sure he's talking to the people in the comment section and not necessarily us, or at least not me, but he says it's way more intelligent discussion than a lot of Husker Facebook groups. So thanks for that, guys. You are welcome, Matt. We appreciate you, buddy. And Richard says, I'm going to let you say this one.
Wow, Richard Fitzwell says John Johnston is my go-to source. Fuck the pretenders. Wow. Well, that's nice. Thank you. I'm not a breaking news guy. I'm never going to be that guy. I don't need it. Some of those guys, the media guys actually do this for a living, and they need it. Owen Walker says, I pick you, John. Believe that. Nobody has contacted me about the coaching job. I assume that's what he's going for.
No,
I think as far as live videos, he would pick you. Well, shit.
Yeah.
I wanted to be picked, and then
you kind of.
I don't want to fail, but apparently, if you fail as a coach, you get shit tons of money.
Yeah. Well, that brings up a great question from Blaine. Why do Division I teams pay coaches big money up front with no guarantee of performance? It's not the crypto market. I want to go back to a point that you and Todd were talking about this past week on therapy, and it's. If you think about it, well, not if you think about it, but in most of the 50 states, the state university, whatever, men's football or basketball coach is the highest paid state employee.
Right.
I feel like, and you talk about like Scott Frost walking away with $1 million to be bad and pay me $15 million to go away.
Yeah.
I feel like contracts need to be restructured to start low and build up, and maybe remove the buyout option. That'll never happen. We'll never see that in our life because a precedent has been set. But it would make coaches try a lot harder.
I'm gonna give a different answer than I did Monday night. Monday night
Okay.
We talked about the fact that athletic directors are particularly bad at business, and it's not their money, and I think they don't really give a shit if they spend a lot of it. I want to propose to you guys a scenario of how this works. All right, I mentioned a little bit ago about Mark Stoops getting a fat raise, and Lance Leipold getting an extension and a raise, and I think Chris Kleiman is due. He's going to get a raise too. So, how do you think that happens? Number one, what drives college football? What really does? Nebraska is special. We're special because we have a fan base that goes to all the games, and we're very involved and we're very active, even after the shittiest football ever. But let's face it, most of the money in college sports, and especially college football, is driven by people who have shit tons of money and give it to their schools because it's a tax write-off, number one. And number two, because that's their egos. I don't golf. I don't sit around at boardrooms with guys that run companies. I've done that in my life as an IT consultant, dealt with a lot of executives, and a lot of these guys do thrive on their egos, okay? So if you're sitting in a conference room and there's a freaking Texas Tech guy sitting next to you and he can bug you about how his team's kicked your ass 6 times in a row, it really grates on you if you're an executive at this level and you're one of those guys that nobody tells no, and you have an ego to go with it. So that's why you're going to give a lot of money to your school to go, I want you to hire the best coach available, and if he doesn't win, I'll buy him out. And that's where a lot of that money comes from. And number two, I want you to think about this. All these media guys have contacts, and they get their sources from contacts. So where do you think they're not talking to the coaches because the coaches are too fucking busy to talk to them. So their contacts are not typically going to be with the coaches. Now they do, they get to talk to him, like Bruce Feldman, probably one of the more connected guys out there. Brett McMurphy, people don't like him sometimes, but more connected guys out there. Andy Staples, certainly one of the more connected guys out there. But a lot of those guys that are writing media stuff, they're connected to agents. And the agents will say, hey, you know what? I'll give you some info, but you need to write this article about how Matt Rhule's going to Nebraska because I want my guy to make another $1 million a year because I get paid and I'm an agent and I get paid a percentage of whatever he gets going to a school. And I want more money because my wife wants a new Audi Q5 or whatever the fuck they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get agents feeding media people, and what it does is it sparks fear into these guys with giant egos and money, and it all becomes one big, I want to say washing machine of, I don't know where that was going, a big sliding around goo of, like things feeding each other and everything like that, and that's a terrible analogy.
I can't stick with you on that one. Blaine made a good point here. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's really, when you look at how many people Nebraska has gotten raises because of this job hunt and because of the rumors and because of the stuff that's out there, go out and look at the articles that have been written, and you can get an idea of kind of who's talking to agents and what the agents are feeding them. And that's a big part of it. It's really about, this guy better not get away. I want him, or I'm not going to give you the $20 million that I said I would. Go ahead.
Well, Blaine said, how many times I've seen a Major League Baseball player come off a record year, get a huge contract, and then fall flat. Is coaching any different? I don't really think so. I'm sure that there are some coaches out there who, maintain a certain level of momentum. But I think it's certain, with enough zeros in the paycheck, and enough commas, I think some level of complacency sets in, and that's why I don't like the downside guarantee, like the buyout type of thing, because it's like, oh well, even if you fail, we'll still cut you a fat check, and that's not that. Why would I understand that one school or one franchise somewhere had to operate that way because they really wanted Coach X. They really wanted this guy. And they're like, hey, you get here, we got big plans. We're going to, win championships, yada, yada. And if you don't, well, we had you. We gave it a run. Here's, it was an incentive. But, man, I just don't know. I just don't know why it makes sense still. The only reason it's still a part of the game is because it's still a part of the game. I'm not saying this is going to sound bad, because this is going to come from like a collective bargaining standpoint, and I'm not on either side. But if like school presidents banded together and be like, all right, we're not going to do that, then but I get it.
Greg, that would be illegal.
I know. That's why I said.
There's a term for that.
I know, but I can't remember it, so I went with collective bargaining.
It's collusion. It is collusion. You cannot collude to set market prices. And agents would not like you to collude because they're making boatloads of money. And let's face it, some of them are extremely good at it.
Look, outside of like Instagram and YouTubers, can you imagine a career where you do less and make as much money as an agent?
It's, the thing is if you're a good salesperson, you can make shit tons of money too, and that's really what it's about, is sales. And sales is all about knowing what your customer wants, what their weak points are, what their pain points are, and then delivering them what they desire, Greg. Like this nifty jacket.
This is a clever statement from Blaine. He hates this SF 49ers as in San Francisco, but not as much as the SF 3-9ers.
Oh my God! We could be 4-9 this year, 4-8.
Let's talk.
Could be.
What's it going to take on Black Friday, John, in Iowa? What's it going to take to get that dub?
it's well, if you look at Iowa as a team, they live off other people's mistakes.
Fair.
And that's really what this entire game is going to come down to. I mean, against Wisconsin, I think we did a decent job. Where we punted at midfield and we forced Wisconsin to, number one, drive the length of the field, and number two, we got Graham Mertz to throw an interception. And Spencer Petras, the starting quarterback for Iowa, is not. Nobody would confuse him with a really good quarterback. He's done a lot better lately, and their offense has done a lot better lately. But I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility for Nebraska to bait him into throwing some interceptions or to, shutting their run game down enough. But the thing about Iowa that's kind of strange is that, my God, they are patient. Kirk Ferentz is the most patient and irritating coach to have to coach against the world, because he's perfectly happy to win a game 9-6. And he's perfectly happy to wait until you screw up with 2 minutes left. I mean, look at some of the losses Nebraska's had with the 2 years in a row where they won on a last-second field goal because Eric Chenander ran the same defense both years, and it was the guy couldn't run a defense for shit. But they just waited. Yeah, they just wait. They're patient. They don't make mistakes, or they try to minimize them. And it's just going to be a game where Nebraska has to just. If Brian Bashini can punt the ball 40 to 50 times every time he punts the fucking ball, maybe we have a chance in this game. Maybe a connection with Trey Palmer, Casey Thompson, Trey Palmer a couple times, and that's all it takes, because 14, 17 points would probably win the game.
That's the thing too, and then God bless the fact that Iowa's offense is horrendous. Gives our defense a chance. And kind of to which offense is good enough, just good enough to do some things. Like you said, if it's Trey Palmer, Washington had a nice grab or two last week against Wisconsin. Finding Anthony Grandal running room would be nice. That's a good point, Matt Hansen. Matt Hansen says, "Too bad they didn't make Frostfire Commander." That would be poetic.
Yeah, probably would have.
But minimizing mistakes, and I'm going to have to knock on wood, because what I'm going to say is about to get me in trouble. Like the turnovers, I don't think the turnovers have been egregious this year. Is that a bad memory? Like, they've been poorly timed. But I don't,
They haven't cost us games, really. Overall, they in the past, turnovers pretty much plagued Nebraska in the loss of games. So what's really costing us games is our inability to make first downs, because our offensive line is non-functional.
That's it.
That's really what it comes down to. I mean, last year when we lost all the one-score games, a lot of those were turnover, and a lot of them were because we couldn't score in the red zone. And this year, I think people like to pin things down to one thing, and this year it's the offensive line. It really is. That's it.
John, I've got several pinned messages here throughout the course of our chat. A couple of them we're going to save for later, because they fall into predictions, which we'll get to at the end. Let's get into one that's kind of more recent, and that comes from Dallas Schwartz, who says, "Guys, my beloved USC Trojans limped through the worst record in 50 years last year. Then we hired CLR, and we're going 10-1 and going into Saturday versus the Golden Gonads." That's funny. Y'all can fix this with a good hire. So
I don't disagree. I think, this can be fixed with a good hire. I agree with that. And then I think you get the nail on top of it. Nebraska has a lot of potential, and we have a lot of assets. And really the big problem is we not only made a horrible hire in that guy we fired, but we let him go for way too long, and nobody just stood up and said, "This is a bucket of shit, let's stop." You know what I mean? Everybody was like, "Oh, he'll figure it out." No, he never would. So, yeah, the right hire,
we all, up and down, we all wanted that to work. You go back about 5 years when it was announced, and there was a unification of the fan base. but man, it went south in a hurry. And wow, now hold on, Beetle. Hold on. It is worth watching. It is. Because regardless of who's on the sideline, that's still a bunch of young men out there representing Nebraska. And so I do say, it's kind of like Charles Dickens said it, I believe, in A Christmas Carol. It's never put a bit of gold in my pocket, but it makes me happy. I don't know. I messed that up.
I was wondering where you go with that. Christmas Carol.
Something about scrap of gold in my pocket or blah, blah, I don't know. Anyway, Beetle, we know you'll be watching Friday.
Don't you have cold medicine?
Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to, What the hell?
John.
Everybody would love to see you. Everybody would love to see you hyped up on NyQuil.
Oh, Blaine. We're sorry, buddy.
Oh my God.
I don't
know.
know.
Well, that's not.
I'm trying to figure out if it's a joke or how insensitive to be. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not good. Oh, for God's sakes!
Son of a bitch.
I have a questionable heart, Blaine. Come on, man. Okay, I think the reason why you watch the Iowa game is just to basically be out of respect for the job that Mickey Joseph has done. I mean, he's just, the guy was handed. Normally in these situations, we'd say he was handed the shit end of the stick, but he didn't even get a stick with it. He just got the shit. And I think he has done a very admirable job of keeping the team together, at least making them presentable. I mean, you haven't heard, we haven't had, huge backlash of players coming out and saying terrible things publicly. We haven't had, a whole gob of things just... we're just not good at football. Everything else is kind of seems like it's doing okay. I realize that's the most important thing, but
because that's what our identity is wrapped in. Football and volleyball, and but let's rapid fire through some of these pinned messages here. We'll do our best. From earlier, Blaine asks a slightly different subject. How's Nebraska these days for players graduating? I think that's still
one of the best in the nation. If I remember correct, we get all the athletic department announcements, and I think that they were actually still one of the best in the nation at graduating their players and grade point percentage and stuff like that. I have a whole crap load of, oh my God, I could look for it, but I'm not going to find it.
No,
but they're doing pretty well in the educational department. The part where they're actually supposed to be student athletes.
That's why they're putting academics first. It all makes sense now.
No shit.
All right, here we go. Next one is from Dion, who says, John, I'm old and grouchy and have a heart condition. I appreciate your style for guys like me. I mean, Dion, it sounds like you're John.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it, Dion. Okay.
Here's another one from Owen. I'll pick CornNation over Character Live, and I do leave love Connor's live reaction stream to go and watch. Oh, he leaves there to watch our reaction videos. The season has been so awesome, even with all the hoopla.
Thank you, Owen.
I don't know about the awesome part, but we appreciate you. All right, here we go. We got more. All right, wait, that's prediction. That's ridiculous. Okay. Ooh, here's a good one. Shane just asked, is there a position group on the team that has improved?
Special teams. I mean, if you look at that's maybe not a position group per se, but I mean, the first game after those guys were fired, we blocked a punt, right? That one that we returned for a touchdown for the first time since 2009. You didn't even have.
Won that game.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even have the inkling of that happening under the previous guy because he didn't even pay attention to what was going on in that area. So, Brian Bashini has punted very well, and I think our field goal kicking has been pretty good. And then there's the block punt. I mean, they're not doing well in returning punts. I mean, it's obviously fair kick or fair catch. And then the whole, we're returning kickoffs out of the end zone. I mean, Tommy Hill, I just think he wants to display his athleticism. I think everybody realizes we can make more yardage if we just sat on the ball and fair caught it there. But, I mean, Tommy Hill has to be very frustrated with what's happened to his season at Nebraska, and I think he just wants to make a play.
And to that end,
everybody,
some of those roster adjustments that were made involving Tommy Hill, taking him off as a DB and planning a new home for him, that allowed guys like Malcolm Hartzog to really flourish. So, in agreement with James here, I think the DBs also improved over the season.
No, that is true too.
Do we know? I didn't. Marquise Buford, he's after that injury, he's done so, right? I mean.
Oh, I don't know. I was gonna look that up and then I didn't.
It was so gruesome that they opted not to show it, which I'm fine with that. I don't need to see gruesome injuries. Yeah, okay. James says broken leg. So.
Oh, I didn't. Ooh, that would be that'd be done. Houseman, that is true.
And I mean, I don't know if he's improved or has he just got the opportunity. You know what I mean? Because he's a true freshman. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
And so there's probably some hesitation on the coaching staff as far as like putting a true freshman out there at the beginning of the season. They want to make sure he's more adapted to the speed of a D1 game. But yeah, we've really seen him come alive the last few games. It's been really nice. I think he's going to do great stuff.
Right.
A lot of the comments about Marquise Buford's leg, I'm not going to highlight them. We'll just say this from B to B: it didn't look good, and we appreciate not having to see him. We wish him a speedy recovery. Like I said, got some more predictions, but we're not going to go there just yet. But Blaine had to know, or had to ask it, player-wise, what do we have to look forward to next season? And I think a lot of that's going to depend on who the new coach is coming in, right?
Yeah. I mean, who stays and who goes.
Right. And I know it's been talked about a little bit in the comments about if Mickey Joseph's not the head coach, if he's retained, but a lot of our top skill players are here or are coming here because of Mickey Joseph. So I guess
put it this way. If Casey, I think Casey Thompson has been maybe not an excellent quarterback, but he's been a very good quarterback. If he returns, I think that is a huge boost to next year's team. A.J. Allen is a guy we've been missing. He got injured earlier. If he returns, big boost. There are a number of other running backs that probably, nobody's seen Ramir Johnson lately, so you probably figure he's gone. But on the defensive side, you've got the young Malcolm Hartzog. You've got the young Houseman. You've got, I can't think of anybody on the defensive line. Nutmasher. That guy, I mean, maybe if he gets better coaching, he can actually provide, if you get one guy at each position group that's going to be there to do something. You've got, who else you've got? You have, who is it? Teddy Prohaska on the offensive line that's been injured. And then you have Nuruddin Nuili, the guy that got suspended and sat out. And, both those are, that's a core for an offensive line that you at least start building around. So you've got, Alante Brown, I think Marcus Washington, Trey Palmer probably hasn't shown enough to go to the NFL. A lot of this is going to be probably these guys looking at each other and saying, are you going to stay? Because I'm going to stay. I mean, if Casey Thompson and Trey Palmer, let's face it. I mean, if Casey Thompson says, yeah, fuck this shit, I'm out of here, Trey Palmer is probably going to go. I think I'll get Trey Palmer. Will probably do an evaluation for the draft anyway. But, I think we have a fair number of decent players, or at least at the skill positions. But in the lines again is where our problem.
Uh, I want to follow up on that, but Jose says I don't know who the next coach is yet, but I'm already drinking that extra sugary red Kool-Aid. Uh, I'll probably start drinking mine in July like usual. Now,
It's what we do.
It is. Is there one guy? Is there one like tent pole player who's like, I'm back. I'm coming back next year. How many of you guys are staying here with me? Would that guy be Casey Thompson?
Yeah, I think so. I think anymore at both levels, the NFL and college. I think most of these offenses are really they're geared around having a good quarterback. I mean, at least if you're going to compete at a very high level. I mean, when you look at like Iowa, they got a potential to win the Big Ten West with probably one of the worst starting quarterbacks in FBS. So, they're kind of a rarity. But for most of them, you need a good quarterback to run an offense that's going to be a highfalutin.
I think Josh and Vince both said similar things. That person would be Thompson on the offense, and it would be Garrett Nelson on the defensive side of things.
Yeah, Garrett Nelson. What was he? I think he is. He can come back next year. They asked him about Senior Day, and he didn't. I don't remember if he walked on Senior Day, or I know that he's undecided about returning next year, and I suppose that's going to be about who we hire for our next coach. So,
Owen had this question about press conferences. If it's Rhule, he thinks the press conference Saturday or Sunday, but if it's not press conferences this weekend, do we think it could be the Kansas State coach who would still be probably coaching towards the?
There's still the possibility of negotiations. The thing about Matt Rhule you have to understand is that he has that NFL contract out there. He may have been fired, but he has a buyout contract, the conditions of which have to be met to satisfy that owner. In other words, Nebraska is going to take over part of the payment of that contract. And again, I can't remember the term that's used, but it has to be a reasonable contract to allow him to go coach for another team and still get his buyout. And I don't think Matt Rhule is going to look at it and go, well, shit, I was due $10 million next year, but I don't need it. I think he's probably going to want to make sure that he's getting paid by both Nebraska, if he's coming to us, and the NFL owner. And everybody's happy with the contract, because here's the thing with the NFL. Remember what I talked about earlier about how all these college boosters are egotistical sons of bitches? And I don't mean that. They have egos, okay? They're not all sons of bitches, but they have egos. And they're up here, and they're used to not being told no. Okay, take that times 3 million times, and that's an NFL owner. All right, so NFL owners, they're gonna do stuff just because they're freaking NFL owners, and you can argue with all their lawyers. That's the thing about Matt Rhule, is there might still be negotiations, or there might still be, lawyers looking at stuff, and lawyers bill by the hour. So it's not in their best interest to just go, I'll just spend 15 minutes on this, and then we'll be done. It's in their best interest to go, yeah, I'll bill you for a few days.
All right. So Blaine asked, in your opinion, I actually meant to pin this for future, but I accidentally highlighted it for now. So bear with me here. In your opinion, who was the last great quarterback we had? Now,
Jerry Taggy.
Well, the answer is Ferragamo. Owen Walker said Joe Gans or Tommy Armstrong. The last great one, I'd be hard pressed to not say Joe Gans.
Yeah, I think Joe Gans was the guy that was kind of, wasn't Sam Keller supposed to be the guy? Yeah. Or was that Zach Taylor? Zach Taylor was a good quarterback too. Zach Taylor was. Yeah, I'd say probably Zach Taylor was a pretty decent quarterback. I don't know. That's a damn good question. That's a question we could have for later. Right. Yeah, Tommy. Every answer is always Tommy.
Maybe we haven't had a great quarterback since then.
Well, I think it's a lot of, having teams too, so.
Yeah, Phil thinks it might be Zach Taylor as well. So, all right.
take that one
hour
from
in.
Dion Prayer. Let's do that one, the last one.
Oh, here we go. Dion says, instead of taking Frost golfing and fishing, why didn't the boosters ask him why he's wasting their money?
I think they probably were in the same position we were, and that they really, really, really wanted this to work out. So they gave him a lot of room, a lot of length, a lot of room on the leash, and with the idea that he would get his shit together. And I brought this up, I think, Monday night about, a lot of listen. I mentor a lot of younger IT people. I mean, not so much anymore because I honestly just don't get out that much. But when you're an executive and face it, an older person, you find yourself in the position of helping people in their careers and helping them get started. And I think a lot of times you look at them and you go, well, I was this way, or I did this, or you know what I mean? Oh my God. And I think they just thought, well, maybe we could help him and maybe we could, goose him along and he'd listen to us. And it just never happened. So, it just kept going and going. And let's face it, last year, the whole one score a loss thing didn't help anybody. You know what I mean? Because everybody was just, he's so close shit. And he really wasn't ever close at all. Because everybody wanted to believe that.
I think FOMO. Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out, yeah.
Because if a booster, actually confronted, then maybe they're cut out of the circle, And I think it's just easier to go along to get along. Do we want to read that exceptionally long comment?
I don't know.
I'm curious to see just
it
how
went
much
by.
space it.
It
I
went
just want to see
by.
how
I
much
didn't
space
get
it takes up on the screen. Oh, we're not even going to get it all. T.O.'s not coming back. People got to get off the T.O. thing. We can't clone him. Now to win, we have to spend far more money than we did on Frost like USC did. It's garbage that Nebraska has as much money as they do and don't bother to go after the
B. It's probably you have to look at the you have to look at
because we think we are on a higher moral ground. People forget that Osborne wasn't an angel because he won games and lots of them. Devaney, Solich, Frost, all of them had baggage. Sorry, just being a realist. This is what burns me out about people.
About not wanting to go after Urban, who is absolutely the best available, not trying to be negative. I disagree with you. I don't think he is the absolute best available. I don't think he fits into where college football is going now with NIL at all. I think that whoever, if Urban Meyer gets convinced to go to another college job, I think he's just going to go there and flame out because that's typically what happens with guys that stay in their career too long. Because, Tom Brady is washed out. Aaron Rodgers washed out, right? That's Urban Meyer. That's where it is. They might have won shit tons in the past, and they're just done now.
Phil, with maybe the simplest part of the night here, or quote of the night, Frost is why getting the right coach is more important than getting a popular coach.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's see. I've got
the
three predictions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The hope is that Trev Alberts has taken his time to talk to a whole shitload of people and found what he wants and where they think they need to go for the next to be successful and how all of this is going to work together. And that is key, is getting the organization all together and moving in the same direction. So, okay.
John.
Yes.
It's prediction time, my friend.
Okay.
Nebraska and Iowa this Friday, 3 o'clock, I think. 3:30, something like that.
Yes.
It's an afternoon game.
Yes. On BTN.
On BTN?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. I'm pinning all of these predictions. Let's get to predictions. We want to know.
Okay.
Friends, viewers, friends, Huskers, countrymen, lend me your predictions. And then, John, you lend me yours as well.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, because, they have to have time to type. And I have to have time to save. To pin.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to go 15-14 Nebraska.
Oh, fuck's sake.
I'm going to say that. Let's see. How do we get to 15 points? I don't know. How did the hell Wisconsin? I don't want to think about it.
5 field goals.
No. Yeah, let's do 5 field goals. By God, let's do 5 field goals. But that means we drove the ball a lot. I'm gonna go with let's see, 1 touchdown. That'd be 7, and then 7-10, 10-13, and a safety would be 15. I can't do the math this fast. I'm just saying it's 15.
1 touchdown, missing the field goal or missing the PAT.
Okay.
I mean, that gives you 6, and then 3 field goals.
Okay, a last-minute field goal by Timmy Bleakroad, Matt Masker. But I guess, do I think we'll win? I don't know. I guess I'm gonna watch because that's what we do. I mean, last week should have sucked all the rest of us out of that forever. And I just still would like to see us beat Iowa, just so I can go on Twitter and make fun of them, because that would bring me so much joy. Okay, last week I actually went to church for the first time in a while, and there's a guy at church that is an Iowa guy, and we've been giving each other crap for years. And I walked up to him and I said, "Congratulations on winning the Big Ten West." And I thought afterwards, I have doomed Iowa, and I hope this is true.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah.
All right, I've got 14 pinned predictions here.
Oh my God.
Let's try to get to them all. Seth actually said much earlier on in the show, calling down Nebraska beats Iowa 17-10. The team rallies around Mickey one last time. I mean, it would have been nice if they would have rallied around him a few more times, like a first time. Then we have Dion says, what does Dion say? Here we go. I'm going to say 13-10 Nebraska. That's all we need. I hope you're catching some other of these other ones and pinning them, John, because I'm reading. You need to pin. Jeez. Merrill says 17-13 Nebraska. Take it. And James says Nebraska 17, Iowa defense 7. Probably pretty accurate. I don't see the Iowa offense score that many points. We've got Nebraska 20, Iowa 21, close game, good game. Not if Nebraska's losing. That doesn't sound like a good game to me, Josh, but that's all right. Then we've got Nebraska 17, Iowa 14 for Matt Hansen. Take it. 24-21 Nebraska on a field goal to end it is what Richard said. You liked that prediction earlier. We've got 21-7 Iowa. Sorry. Beetle B. Come on. James with a long write-up says, didn't make a prediction last week because I thought it was impossible. This week isn't much more possible despite really wanting Nebraska to come through. I don't see it. 34-24 Iowa. I see now offense than expected. See more Iowa offense perhaps than expected. Not sure. Oh, sadness. Ralph says NU 3, Iowa 9. That's disappointing. Owen says 13-9 Nebraska. We get a pick 6. And John, guess what? We get a punt return for a TD.
Oh, that'd be nice.
All right, I don't think I caught this one earlier. Here we go. Jose says my heart says 70-0 Nebraska. It'll probably end up being 21-17 Iowa, though. Equally depressing. Phil says Nebraska 10, Iowa 12. Gosh, nobody believes anymore. I guess I'm the only one still drinking Kool-Aid, which is probably possible. Shane, thank you, Shane. 17-14 Nebraska. And I'm clearing off all the ones. What in the world is going on? Apparently, I did not clear any of these off as I was.
Well, you said to pin them, so I was pinning a bunch of them.
You pinned the ones that I was already reading. David says Nebraska 13, Iowa 10. Charlie says 10-9 Nebraska. And I think I saw Matt at one point said Iowa 3, Nebraska nothing, which would be about right. That would be a fitting way to end the last vestiges of of a Scott Frost era. So, okay. Well, I guess it's my turn then. What's that?
Iowa 3, Nebraska 0. God, that would be the game to watch, wouldn't it?
Phil says take the under for sure. All right. I know everybody's waiting for mine because nobody drinks Kool-Aid. Like Greg Mahotsko drinks Kool-Aid.
Should have had some NyQuil in it.
I should have. Hold on. All right. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to move the pocket kind of a lot. We're going to get Casey Thompson out on bootlegs. We're going to have him getting rid of the ball early. We are going to get the ball downfield quickly while also eating up some chunks of clock. It's a two-handed. Nebraska's going to win this one by scoring over 30 points. Nebraska wins this 31 to Iowa 17.
Wow, that is a
bold
prediction. It's a bold prediction.
It's a bold prediction.
Yeah. Bold
but
prediction.
At the same time, we got nothing to lose. We can't lose that. I mean, we can't lose another game, but we can't lose. We can't fall farther than we've fallen, right? So,
we keep saying that.
Eventually, we'll hit the bottom of the rock, right? So, with that being said, gonna let this last one from Dion take us home, as he wishes everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and we wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate you spending your Thanksgiving Eve with us. You do make up the third. Well, until Haas returns, you're the third leg of the tripod. You all to think about that and what that means to be the third leg of the tripod of this particular crew. So, John, any final words?
No, just happy Thanksgiving. I guess the only thing I'd say is, the last 20 years of football has been, well, let's just stick with a few recent years. They've been extremely hard to take for all of us, and I guess the one thing that we've all had is us sticking together as a Nebraska fan base. Even though we all disagree and we may be, irritating each other and self-loathing a lot at times, we're still here, and I think that's pretty impressive. And I think it's, some people might look at it and say it's dumb, but I think there's something to be said about at least all staying together around something that we love. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And I love that Blaine is reminding me that my eternal optimism will remain on the internet for eternity. You're darn right.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. Let's hope it doesn't get there. Let's continue to drink that Kool-Aid. I think my Kool-Aid flavor is going to be NyQuil here in about 3 minutes. And let's all stay healthy the rest of the weekend. Watch Nebraska. Don't watch Nebraska. I can't make you. But just know, next week you'll have a lot more to talk about if you watched the game.
Oh, God, that's true.
I'm looking at you, Beetle. So, for our founder and fearless leader, John Dam Johnston, I'm sick as a dog, Greg Mahotsko. Going to go remedy that somehow. And this is the 5 Heart Podcast, where we remind you each and every week that 5 Heart is all the heart you need. John?
Go Big Red, beat Iowa!
Win the damn